Hello everyone, and I'll be giving an update on what has been going on with respect to Beyond Leo studies and opportunities for the Biological and Physical Sciences division within SMD. Next slide, please. So, just as information, we do have a new acting director, Diane Malerick, and acting deputy director, Devon Griffin, as well as a new RNA leader, RNA lead in Fran Chiramonti. We've also done some level of reorganization so that you can see where each of our principal programs sit at level one, at level two with space biology and physical sciences. But we have a new one that's being added called Series, which is related to rapid science return and studies on the International Space Station, and then our field centers. So currently, we are in a process in which there is a search going on for the new director, and we should hear in the near future. Next slide, please. This is our biological sciences fleet. As you can see, most of our studies are still on the International Space Station. But what's really exciting is to the upper left, where we are beginning to look at conducting research experiments beyond low Earth orbit around the moon and on the moon. Our first experiment was Bioexperiment 1, which flew on Artemis 1 and was returned on December 22nd. Our next payload, which is actually sponsored and funded through SEO, is Leah on Eclipse mission. And there are two other investigations that we are looking at that are currently in evaluation by Orion for space biology on Artemis 2, and then a BPS space biology translational research study on Artemis 3. So we're waiting here. But also, there are some other analyses going on with our international partners in Gateway for some Gateway experiments. Can't speak about those now, but we are active in looking at flying investigations on Gateway. And also, we're very active in the Ursa IDA that you just heard from Jamie. Related to radiation studies, understanding what's coming in versus what's on the internal, what's coming through and on the internal side of the habit of the habitat. And so we're actively involved, and we're getting opportunities that we can to get our experiments out to the moon. Next slide, please. Just to let you know, we are expecting our decadal survey on biological and physical sciences research in space to be released this summer. These are the links that you can go to review the current status and the statement of task for this decadal survey. But although we are waiting for our decadal to come out, we are not inactive. We have been involved in everything that you've heard from our previous speakers are related to Moon to Mars, the different science working groups, science utilization coordination panels, and other areas of Artemis and Gateway to help ensure that the science objectives, the strategies, and our capability needs are included in these important documents that will help to guide and lead the architecture for the science, as well as the operations and utilization for science. So, although we're waiting for the decadal, we are actively working within SEO as well as with ESDMD on many of these different activities to get our needs and our unique needs for physical and biological sciences into the documents. Next slide, please. So, as I've mentioned, we have sent one experiment out to the moon during Artemis 1, and these are the investigators who flew their passive experiments within the Orion capsule. Next slide, please. The science was successfully returned on in December to San Diego, where they were retrieved by the Orion payload and cargo integration lead, and then delivered to Kennedy Space Center, where the science was either shipped to the PI, a couple of PIs in their labs, or some of the PIs came to Kennedy to pick up their experiments. Currently, there by some initial analyses, the samples look really good, and everything is currently underway. And we're hoping to hear within the year the status of the science that's come out from our first experiment beyond low Earth orbit in many, many years. Next slide, please. Also, you heard from Joel the Leah experiment, which will be flying on CLIPS CP22. And this is fully funded and sponsored by the NASA Science Mission Directorate Exploration Science Strategy and Integration Office. The principal investigator is Mark Settles, and the deputy principal investigator is Sergio Santamaria. And they'll be conducting a series of studies looking at radiation effects on biological systems. If I could have the next slide. The payload is currently in development and coming up on its first major milestone review. But as mentioned before, it's going on CP22 to the South Pole region, and we're really excited about the progress of development in the flight for this experiment. Next slide, please. In terms of research opportunities, you'll hear more about this one later, but there is the Artemis 3 deployed instruments call that has recently come out, and initial draft comments were closed on May 17th. But what I really want to emphasize for this particular one is that its format is very different from what the biological and physical sciences community is used to with respect to solicitations and the input proposal needs for these proposals. And so Craig Kundrat and Diane Malarick are very interested in making sure that our community really understands the difference between this type of proposals versus the ones that we're used to seeing from when we're in HEO, as well as the recent Roses calls for BPS. And so there will be a proposal conference call. It's currently TBD, but we're expecting it sometime in June. And so please be check on the notifications that do come out related to the Artemis call. This will basically will tell our community what the difference is between the proposals, and then there'll be the pre-proposal conference later. Next slide, please. There's another research opportunity with EPSCoR that is going to be coming out for the states and jurisdictions who participate in EPSCoR, and really it's related to looking at different soil related conditions and samples that are relevant to deep space relevance, to really kind of get some initial understanding of plant growth in different type of soils and other things. There was another call which is currently closed and in proposal submission that space biology program put out looking at regolith as well. And so just wanted to let you know that this is coming out. So please be in August. So if you're in one of the EPSCoR states, please take a look at the solicitation and call. Next slide. Our science has also been included in the PRISM 3 call. We expect that to be true for PRISM 4 as we work with SEO. Also, we had some science that was involved in Solar System Exploration Research Virtual Institute Cooperative Agreement Notice 4. And then also there will be International Gateway research opportunities coming out. So we are looking for all opportunities to have competitive research selected. And please make sure you are all subscribing to NSpires if you aren't already for SMD research calls. Next slide, please. One thing too, I wanted to point out because regolith and its properties are related to physical sciences and fundamental physics soft matter, is that we do have a NASA soft matter seminar series. The point of contact is Dr. Suman Ray. And so if you are interested in participating and listening into these presentations or giving a presentation, please do so. Dr. Ray let me know that he recently had some conversations with some geotechnical scientists and determined that their understanding and models of soft matter could actually help them to explain what they're seeing with respect to regolith and the moon interactions. Next slide, please. Just another thing for everyone to note, this year's ASGSR meeting is November 14th through the 18th in Washington, D.C. This is where the major science groups and our researchers join together for a regular yearly meeting in physical sciences, fundamental physics, as well as space biology. So mark that on the calendar. Next slide, please. And finally, we will be holding a workshop on human exploration of Mars to really obtain information related to priorities, science concept objectives, as well as important areas that we need to consider for capabilities. So this will be set for the day before the start of the ASGSR meeting at on the Capitol Hill. In Washington D.C. And next slide, and that's all. Thank you very much.